And Sherwin joining us live from New York right now. Sherwin, great to have you with us as always. So he spoke about Madiba and his ability to cling to hope in the midst of darkness. Like you said, he found light in the dark. And then this great segue to the issues of today. Tell us more.
Well, the darkness, I think, Francis, refers there to the climate change emergency that is facing the global community, the poverty emergency. You know, if you look at UN data, some almost 100 million people post the COVID-19 pandemic have fallen into poverty. We are talking daily about an insecure food crisis around the world, wrought by, certainly exacerbated by the war in Ukraine, and of course many other factors, issues of food insecurity in the Horn of Africa in particular. So this, I think, the takeaway is that this was not a speech about Harry Windsor or Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex. This was a speech by Prince Harry about some of the critical issues facing this generation today, and really invigorating and espousing that message that Madiba left us with, right, where he says famously that it's in your hands. And I think this was echoed not just by Harry, but by all the speakers today. Amina Mohammed, the Deputy Secretary General, talking about how Madiba was an inspiration for her ever since she was a young person growing up in Nigeria. I've taken to heart his profound lesson that we all have the ability and responsibility to take action, that there is no us and them. We are in this together. Eric Adams, the current mayor of New York and only the second black mayor to hold that position, talks about how we as leaders cannot fall back on excuses and inertia. When the people demand change, we must be inspired by the courage of Nelson Mandela. History cannot erase the 27 years sacrificed in the name of freedom, but his example reminds us that the darkest times cannot quench our spirit or dim our hope. So I think all the speakers really recognizing the moment that given the breadth of the challenges, including climate change and others that face us, the fallback we've seen in terms of implementing the Sustainable Development Goals, just 8 years out, Francis, from that 2030 deadline, all the speakers really talking about the need to coalesce around these issues as a collective, as a multilateral system, which certainly is what the UN is, and failing which we will fail, and really invoking the example and the character and the message of Mandela in our ability, certainly, to hope and implement the changes we seek, Francis.
And to lead, like you said. Sherwin, after many annual commemorations, how much interest is there amongst UN members in Nelson Mandela International Day, amongst New Yorkers? How much interest in the person of Prince Harry as well?
The truth is that historically, certainly over the last number of years, you'll remember that this was a General Assembly resolution in 2009. In 2010, we had the first iteration of Nelson Mandela International Day. There was a great deal of fanfare there. And then I think what you saw is a tapering off, certainly in terms of the UN General Assembly events, which is an annual event, much like the annual lecture, which will be delivered by Barbados Prime Minister Mia Mottley in November this year. So we saw a tapering off in interest, but this announcement by the foundation on your show on Full View not so long ago, talking about Harry and the fact that they were able to secure him, really generated a lot of interest online. And so I've been saying, since that announcement, that his ability to bring in a new audience, particularly a younger audience that really is, people that like to follow celebrities. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry living now in California do generate a lot of interest no matter where they go, and that was no different here. We saw a number of stakeout positions in the foyers waiting for their arrival, and what that means is that, the CNNs and the BBCs and the Sky Newses and the Al Jazeeras of this world were all focused on this speech, and I think that would have been a marked difference from what we've seen certainly over the last 2 years. There've been COVID-19 pandemic made these events, particularly the commemoration of Nelson Mandela International Day, a virtual event. So for the first time, Harry in the room, Meghan in the room, in person. The Nelson Mandela Prize awarded to two laureates that were announced back in 2020. I think this year's event got a great deal more attention. So certainly a coup for the Nelson Mandela Foundation in securing such a high-profile person to speak to some of the very high-profile issues that face us as a collective and a global community today.
Yeah, and great that he mentioned African countries. He remembered Cape Town and mentioning these places as a sort of refuge for him and some places that he treasures as well. All right, we have to leave it there. Thank you very much, Sherwin, Bryce-Pease, SABC News correspondent, live for us in New York.